2 Kings 13, verse 14. Now when Elisha had fallen sick with the illness of which he was to die, Joash, king of Israel, went down to him and wept before him, crying, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. And Elisha said to him, take a bow and arrows. So he took a bow and arrows. Then he said to the king of Israel, draw the bow. And he drew it. And Elisha laid his hands on the king's hands, and he said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. Or he said, shoot. And the guy said, shoot. Somebody will get that later. And he said, the Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Syria, for you shall fight the Syrians in Aphek until you have made an end of them. And you shall fight the Syrians in Aphek until you have made an end of them. And he said to the king of Israel, take the arrows. And he took them. And he said, strike the ground with them. And he struck 3 times and stopped. Then the man of God was angry with him and said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck down Syria until you had made an end of it. But now you will strike down Syria only 3 times. And we will trust Father to add his blessing to the reading of his word. One of the things that is so important for us to understand as it relates to this story is that Joash, the king of Judah, and Jehoash, his cousin, the king of the northern kingdom, aren't the most godly kings that have ever existed to rule and reign in Israel. They're compromised. They're Baal worshipers. And the only place in all of Israel at that moment where God seems to still be alive is in the person of Elisha, who's dying very quickly. By the time you get to this story in the life of Elisha, he's been sidelined for 50 years. All those amazing miracles you read about that Elisha performs, all the deliverances, all the manifestations of power that he performs for the remnant of the 7,000 during the season in which he ministers, take place in a period of about 10 to 12 years post the 12 years he spent with Elijah pouring water on his hands. Now you need to hear me. There are seasons in God. We would love to say there's going to be a sustained, ongoing dynamic that never ends. But I've discovered something about God the longer I walk with him. You've got to pace yourself because there are seasons when he moves. And when he moves, you have to draw strength from those seasons. Because when he's not moving, as the wave goes back out, all the garbage is left on the shore that God wants you to clean up before the next wave comes in. And right now, some of you need to realize that the reason you're going through what you're going through is not because God has abandoned you, but God moves in seasons, and there's some garbage on the shore of your faith that's getting in the way of him coming in clean. And he's not saying I'm condemning you. He's saying I'm just letting the devil go first, because when I show up, I'm going to show you that I do last what the devil couldn't do first. Look at somebody and say, God's about to move on your behalf. And the surest way I know that is the devil's been messing with you. The devil always goes first. But that's all right. Because if the devil goes first, Jesus, as a matter of fact, the devil couldn't touch you unless Jesus said, go ahead, let's see what you got. Because Jesus has more confidence in you than you have in yourself. If he's letting the devil harass you, it means he's got something big in store for you. There's a breakthrough on the way. What is it about this sidelined, sick, infirmed man of God that makes him so important. He can see. What do you mean he can see? The secret to his power is that he can see. See what? See what wants to happen before it does. He didn't always have that. As a matter of fact, for the 12 years that he walked with Elijah, all he could see was the dust and dirt on the hands of a miracle worker, and his whole responsibility was to water and pour water on the hands of a man who could then lift his hands in prayer and offer an acceptable sacrifice before the Lord. Elisha's entire ministry to Elijah was to pour water on his hands and keep his coat free of bugs. Because when a Jew lifts their hands to pray, they have to have clean hands. And the only way to have clean hands is that before you pray, you got to wash your hands. And Elisha's whole ministry, you need to hear me, the whole key to Elijah's miracles was that Elisha kept water on the miracle worker's hands. Because all miracles begin with water. First miracle Jesus does involves water. The first miracle in chaos is that the Spirit broods over it and turns it into cosmos. First miracle in Moses' life is water is involved. First miracle in Joshua's life has to do with water, because everything begins in the primal element of water, which goes back to chaos and disorder. And in the hands of someone who can see, they can take the unseen and shape and form and cleanse and release. And when they lift their hands, they offer a finished testimony of the faith that can command the hands of God to move. Their hands open heaven. Are you listening to me? And Elisha spends 12 years pouring water on that. Some of us want a greater anointing. Whose hands are you watering? I wonder, in the current culture, where are the Elishas that are willing to say to Jesus, I want the promise of the Father. I want the double portion of the Holy Ghost. I'm not content to simply be another sidelined Christian. I want to be one that you can raise up, that can get their hands dirty and learn how to move in a demonstration of the Spirit and power and reveal that God is still alive. I want to be the chariot you ride into situations where hell has been ruling and reigning. Have I got your attention? I'm going somewhere. Just setting you up for something. Tell somebody breakthrough's on the way. And all of a sudden, when he says, ask of me what I shall do for you, he says, I want a double portion of your Spirit. And Elijah says, you've asked a hard thing. That word hard thing is the word in the Hebrew for a yoke on an oxen that is so burdensome and so grievous that it takes 2 oxen to carry it. Elisha says, I can relate to that. It's not a hard thing. It's everything I've been prepared for. See, God's looking to put the Holy Ghost on some oxen. God's not looking for people in the palace. He's looking for people that aren't afraid to pound dust. Horses don't have a split hoof. They only like to put their feet in places where they feel comfortable. An ox has a split hoof. It can feel out the ground, whether it's solid or whether it's stable, but because they carry weight, they dig into the worst of soil, and they carry a weight that says we're going to convert this soil into soil that can take water and soil that can receive seed. And though they're slow and though they seem burdened, that ox will not stop at anything. They don't even need their master to call their name, because they don't respond to a voice. They respond to a prodding. plowing. I wonder how many of you in this room are willing to let God prod you into a place of saying, I'm going to plow. I'm plowing up fallow ground. I feel like all hell's breaking loose, but with every step I take, I'm breaking up the fallow ground, and I'm lifting my hands on the old plow, and the higher my hands go in praise, the deeper the furrows, and the more those oxen just dig into the ground, because this territory that hell has claimed belongs to me. And in the place where there's been a ghetto, I'm going to create a garden. I'm one of God's oxen, and I am going to plow until kingdom dynamics, kingdom power, and kingdom glory show up in the place where the devil said you can't come in here. Elisha, you've asked a hard thing. But if you see, it takes discipline to see. It takes discipline to see. It takes spiritual discipline to cultivate a life of seeing. And 50 years later, when he's sidelined, he's done all these miracles. And now, unlike Elijah, who was caught up in the chariot, Elisha's dying of an illness. We don't always have the answers to the human condition, but are we still willing to get our hands dirty and plow up the fallow ground to receive the rain of heaven and the seed of the Word of God? If you see, and his whole life changes because he sees into the arena where all things change, the visible arena. The invisible governs the visible. He sees into what quantum physicists now call the field of active information. Quantum physicists are now declaring that if we are focused and intentional, we can literally change physical atmospheres. I want to say to the quantum physicists, have you never read the book of Acts? Have you never read the prophet Isaiah? Have you never read the Bible? God says, command ye me the work of my hands, and atmospheres shift. Men can make it rain. Men can pray when it's not raining. And all of a sudden, water droplets in the hydraulic cycle kick in. And all of a sudden, where there's a cloudless sky, all of a sudden a storm cloud appears just about this big. But it's enough to say, get ready. It's about to rain. God is looking for a company of people that are not afraid to plow, not afraid to get their hands dirty, because they carry God. They are God's chariot. Anybody else can say they've got this, they've got that. Oh, yeah. Where's the power? Show me the power. Don't show me the money. Show me the power. Show me the power. And when Joash gets to a place where his world and his culture have failed him, he still knows where he's got to go if he's going to have hope. In other words, he's surrounded by enemies, and the enemy of Syria, Aram, means exalted. I want you to know that when the enemy shows up, he wants you to think he's large and in charge, and he creates a consciousness of overwhelm to let you think he's got you. Until you recognize how the enemy is working, you will not have a strategy for breakthrough. Until you identify your enemy, you cannot defeat your enemy. And some of you are battling what you think is your personality. It's just my personality. No, maybe it's not your personality at all. Maybe it's your enemy, masking as a voice of your personality. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, spiritual forces of wickedness, and spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. And we've got to put on the armor of God. Am I talking to anybody? Until you recognize the enemy for who he is and identify him, you will never have a strategy for defeating him. Aram, exalted enemy. Paul says we're to take down everything that exalts itself above the knowledge of God. The enemy wants to parade his consciousness of exaltation that's false into your consciousness and make you think it's all over. What's the use? And if you're there, it's the best place to be. for a brand new strategy of seeing your breakthrough before it arrives. And here's the thing. Elisha is laying on his back, losing every last bit of his life. 50 years he's been sidelined. All God's waiting for is somebody to wake up a dying prophetic anointing. And it's dying because the culture doesn't think it's valuable. I wonder if there are any plowers in this room that have the guts to believe they can wake up a dying prophetic anointing in an hour when God wants to do the impossible. I'm here to tell you that God's about to wake up a dead prophet society, because there's a company of people that would rather have faith in a dead prophet than in a living, compromised culture. I want you to know the prophets may look like they're dead and in their grave, but they carry something that even their bones can transmit life long after their body has rotted and decayed. Because when you plow in the kingdom, you don't just plow in the natural, you plow in the spirit. You create an atmosphere and an environment that literally changes things for generations. It's time to wake up a dying prophet. It's time for a generation to cry out for those who can see. We gotta know who to run to in a day of warfare. We gotta know that it's not gonna happen by some quick religious pious platitude. We need men and women that know him who was from the beginning. We need the power. We need the power. We need to find those that consistently have plowed in praise, in meditation, in prayer, in contemplation. Don't give me somebody that's got a formula. Find me somebody that's got a history in God. I don't need your religious answer. I need to know, have you been plowing? Is there an anointing on you? Do you have something? Show me your hands. Are they dirty with the human condition? Have you been following those who are suffering? And have you suffered with them? I need somebody that can sit with me in my pain and tell me it's not over yet. I see something. Your breakthrough's on the way. The road's been rough, but I'm still here. The road's been hard, but I'm still here. The road's been long, but I'm still here. The devil's tried to take me out on more than one occasion, but look at here. I'm still plowing. He's thrown everything he can at me, but I'm still here. There were times I wanted to check out myself, but I had to trust him that he could raise me from the dead, and I'm still here. God's looking for somebody that still is here. Where are you? There's a generation that needs you. There's a generation that doesn't understand spiritual warfare. There's a generation that wants to imagine if you don't think about the devil, he'll just go away. There's one thing the devil will never do. Leave. You gotta know how to put on your armor and get a Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry spirit that says, go ahead, make my day. Make sure you give me your best shot now. Do your best now, because I promise you, you're going first. But in Jesus, I'm going last. You do your best, but I haven't shown you the fight I got left in me. I still got some fight left in me. I've still got an anointing left in me. I've still got the goods in me. God's looking for somebody through whom he can bring a breakthrough. When they used to pin the Hulk, and you would think by the time the ref got to 10, Hogan would be out, and he would just get his shoulder off the mat at 9. Some of you feel like, I ain't got it, Bishop. Can you just... The devil's counting 1, 2. Can you just... That's all I got. That's all you need. Because if you do this, he's got to start at 1 all over again. Just do this. Come on. Do that Hulk Hogan WWF. Just get that shoulder off the mat. Why? Because if you just get enough strength in the shoulder, it'll go down to the arm, and all of a sudden that finger's gonna go up, and the whole crowd is gonna see you're still the champion. Somebody do this. Come on, do this. Do this. Do this. Beloved, giving is a privilege and an honor in the kingdom, and as we give, God promises us He will give back to us in more ways than we can imagine. I invite you to sow a love gift into the soil of Mark Chironna Ministries right now in response to the word of the Lord you've heard, and help me continue to take the gospel and see souls won all around the world, bodies healed, lives transformed. Sow your best love gift right now, $35 or more, into the soil of Mark Chironna Ministries, and let me say thank you by putting in your hands this brand new, powerful, prophetic, compelling series, Dead Prophet Society, Touching the Legacy of Elisha's Bones. You're going to want this in your library to refer to again and again because of the rich insights in terms of application for breakthrough in your life. Call that number now. Sow that love gift, and you decide, CD or DVD, your choice. Put that seed in the ground, and let me say thank you by putting this valuable resource library in your hands. The Dead Prophet Society, Touching the Legacy of Elisha's Bones. For those of you that will sow a $55 seed or more, you're going to get a companion series called Spirit Bread to Fight the Fight. And I'm going to show you how in the authority of Christ you are to move through seasons of resistance and experience breakthrough by intercession, declaration, and decree. Call that number now. Sow that $55 love gift, and let me say thank you by giving you both the Dead Prophet Society series as well as the series Spirit Bread to Fight the Fight. And for those of you that are moved to sow a $75 love gift or more, you're going to get a powerful 8-message series, CD or DVD, your choice, When Prophets Move. It's one of those power-packed revival series messages that will inspire your faith, quicken your spirit, and move you into mountain-moving faith to see the hand of God move on your life. Sow your best love gift right now, $35, $55, $75 or more, and let me say thank you for partnering with me to share the gospel around the world by putting these valuable, life-giving resources in your hand. Call now.